Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Wednesday, February 12th, 2014. And happy Abraham Lincoln's birthday today. The first article that I have is from LaRouche Pack, Right Wing Sharpens Knives for Hillary and Bill. And I mentioned this the other day. These private papers came out. And as I was reading over this article from LaRouche Pack, I wondered if the person who released these was represented by, I think, the actress Kathy Bates in Primary Colors, Diane Blair. And I believe that that is that character, and I just found that interesting. The film Primary Colors is both fun and embarrassing to watch. It's fun to watch because it's amusing, and it's just well put together as a kind of a comedy, although it's a discreet comedy. But it's also embarrassing because it is about the Clintons, and they basically just look like a bunch of hillbillies. They don't actually even look like sophisticated, evil, mind control murderers. They just look like hillbillies. So of course that film doesn't go very deep into who they really are. But the diary and the papers of this lady who was represented in the film do go pretty deeply into that. So this story, I think, is going to be around for a while. And how interesting would it be if somebody actually wrote a script and produced a movie based on this information, as opposed to the more light-hearted scandals in Primary Colors. From King World News blog is this article, Clente, the world is being run by psychopaths and sociopaths. As if we didn't know, right? But I did find this rather interesting. First of all, Gerald Clente is considered to be the top trends forecaster in the world. And there's a statement here. As I said, we all pretty much know this, but having it cast in this kind of light is rather jarring, and perhaps something that people who follow trends can understand, people who are interested in the stock market, people who know the name Gerald Clente. Since 2008, all we have seen is a major cover-up take place as the American people are constantly being lied to by those who run the Orwellian mainstream media as they continue with their campaign of propaganda. Considering that, virtually everything that we hear is suspect, no matter what the source, because let's face it, even a lot of alternative people have sources in more mainstream media, get information from various places. And the propaganda machine, I just feel, is really, really working overtime, cranking out a lot of information. And I find it very difficult to determine what is true and what is not true. And especially as I do these videos, I really try to sort through things. But obviously, I'm not infallible. So every one of us needs to really filter and sort and apply every ounce of discernment and wisdom that we have to try to determine what's really going on. Now, this is true. This is a hard fact. From RT, Boston equips city buses with 360-degree live surveillance cameras. Reminds me of the Police song, I'll Be Watching You. Of course, we know this as well, but this is just another way in which, the control grid is pulling in a lot of information on all of us. And this is from a couple weeks ago, and I didn't mention it on the day that it came out, but it's kind of stayed in my mind, and it's along the same lines as the article about the buses. This is from IntelliHub. Authorities want remote access to Californians' home CCTV footage, quote, for the greater good, end quote. Uh, this would mean, those little closed circuit television systems that you can buy at Costco for a few $100s to put up in your house, so that you have a record of what is happening in your house, or so that you can view from a centralized room. But now the the authorities want remote access to. This would mean everything that happens in your home, at least where you have a camera, would be monitored. And if they decide to do this, it's possible that you won't be able to prevent them from doing it with yours. So before you purchase one of these home systems, you might want to think long and hard and make a very cautious decision about that. I have a couple of articles here that were not very good news. And this is from Euronews. GMO corn from DuPont and Dow gets green light in Europe. They've blocked some Monsanto GMOs, and now DuPont and Dow have gotten a foot in the door. So the people who are pushing this behind the scenes, it's not just one corporation. This is an agenda to corrupt the DNA of the world, not just human DNA, but the DNA of the world. This is kill, steal, and destroy. Of course, all of you know that. So I will move on. From MSNBC, another chemical spill in West Virginia. And yes, this is from yesterday. More than 100,000 gallons of waste from a coal processing facility leaked into a tributary of West Virginia's Kanawha River early Tuesday. And once again, this is the coal industry. So these last three big toxic spills in these, in North Carolina and West Virginia have been from the coal industry. I think there's a double agenda here. Of course, to poison all of us, and also to cast the coal industry in a bad light, so that people demand that coal plants be shut down, or at least are sympathetic when coal plants are shut down, when really coal is a tremendous source of electricity, at least for the time being. Of course, I'd rather see the alternative energies put into play. But coal is mined here in the U.S. It helps us to be more energy independent. And Alex Jones constantly talks about the coal industry being shut down and coal power plants being shut down. So I think this is a part of that agenda. And as I mentioned, of course, just release toxins and poison everybody. And when I mentioned that yesterday, I stopped myself short when I was talking about the radioactive snow, because I didn't want to sound crazy. But Dr. Group said it on Alex Jones yesterday, so I will say it too. I think there's a possibility that radioactivity is being released in chemtrails, and then it can be blamed on Fukushima. So yeah, how crazy does that sound? But protect yourselves and your families however you can. Find out, get some of Alex's drops that protect against radioactivity. Whatever you can do to protect yourself and your family. And from the LaRouche PAC, Russia's General Ivashov, I assume that the foreign ministry understands we are at war. The EU and the US are really pushing on Russia in this situation with the Ukraine. And as anybody who reads Benjamin Fulford knows, the cabal has been desperately trying to spark up a war somewhere in the world that can open the doors for World War III, make themselves some money, because they always profit from war, and keep all of us focused on something that, might tend to make us sympathetic to their causes. So this is going on, and LaRouche PAC, if you receive their tweets, you could easily be terrified, because some of the things that they've been writing about in the not too distant future are very bleak. Here's another example. LaRouche PAC, Obama contemplating killing another American by drone. There's a debate raging within and among the Obama White House, the Justice Department, the CIA, and the Pentagon over how best to kill an American citizen without criminal charges ever being filed against him. The American citizen is not named, but is said to be a terrorist facilitator hiding out in a remote area of Pakistan. So at least that is in another country, but he is an American citizen. And I saw this astonishing article. I mean, sometimes we become jaded, but from IntelliHub, NSA uses cell phones to target drone strikes. That is pretty jarring. I was pretty astonished by this. I mean, it makes sense, right? But it also kind of makes me want to think twice before I bring my cell phone with me when I go for a walk or over to the grocery store, or even sit in my house for that matter. You know, I guess if you hear a noise, you think a drone might be after you, throw your cell phone somewhere as far away from you as you can, and maybe the drone will go after that point. I don't know, it could work. Depends on how good the cameras are on the drones, I guess. Here from the 10th Amendment Center, and I'm moving a little more close to some somewhat better news. Missouri Senate Committee passes anti-spying bill. And there is just progress virtually every day on the 10th Amendment frontier. If you frequent the 10th Amendment Center blog or receive their tweets, you will usually find some great encouragement there, because the states are doing wonderful things to resist federal tyranny. From Mercy Triumphs, Fritz Springmeier has a really interesting article about Bitcoin and what is really behind Bitcoin. And this is very interesting. And, you know, just the whole idea of private transactions. We've been thinking and talking a lot about just using cash. I mean, it might be difficult to pay bills. You might have to, you know, go to a business office somewhere, or even buy a prepaid debit card and use that for bills, whatever. But go to the post office and get money orders. But that at least takes the ability of the banks to know everything that you're doing financially away, and that can surely only be positive. And hopefully there will be other crypto coins that do prove to be more safe and under the control of the people. And maybe we'll even have a global currency reset that will require the banks to function with more integrity. And if the states, more states like Maryland, move toward cutting off utilities to the NSA, maybe we'll get our privacy back. Maybe we'll get our country back. And for the good news of the day, this video came on my radar this morning. Somebody actually mentioned it in a comment on Fritz's post about the possibility of a global financial or American financial collapse. And Fritz was encouraging people to look into aquaculture and have their own source of food on hand in case there is some kind of an economic collapse. And it's the system that Fritz mentioned. For $190 you can set it up. So this is something that's within the scope of possibility for almost everybody. And this video is just one example of how this system can work. 1 million pounds of food on 3 acres. That is just completely remarkable. And of course, the 3 acres, that's more something that a community can do. But many of these aquaponics systems are very small and can fit easily in a shed or a garage, or if the weather's nice enough, outside, and very easy to set up. Supposedly, I haven't done it, but I've heard that it's very easy to set up and really does what it promises to do. Many people have successfully done this. So with that, and with hope for the future, thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.